You know, when we think of a story, we usually picture a writer, alone, carefully planning out every single beat. But what if a story could be born in real time, built by a whole group of people who have no idea where it's headed? Well, today we're going to tear one of these stories apart and see exactly what makes it tick.
Yeah? That line? It wasn't in a script. It wasn't planned. It was just raw. A gut reaction from a performer, right in the middle of a story that's still being built. And that's the kind of moment that makes a narrative absolutely electric.
So how in the world do you get to a moment of pure, unscripted drama like that? Well, that's the big question, isn't it? And that's exactly what we're going to get into. We're pulling back the curtain to show you how a story is built, not from a page, but from a series of live, unpredictable choices.
Okay, so to get what's happening, you've got to understand the world this story is set in. See, this isn't your typical novel. It's more like a game where one person, the story guide, paints this vivid picture of a world and then just lets the players run wild in it.
So what we're talking about here is something called collaborative storytelling. The easiest way to think about it, it's like a super high-stakes improv night. You've got one person, the story guide, who's in charge of the world, the conflicts, all the side characters, but the main characters, the heroes of our story, they're controlled by the players. And it's their decisions, their wins, and yeah, their failures that actually create the plot from scratch.
All right, so let's set the scene. We're in Portland, Oregon. But, this isn't the Portland you might know. It's darker. It's recovering from a huge earthquake. And oh yeah, it's secretly run by vampires. And to make things worse, some ancient, scary new threat is bubbling up. And our players? They've got one simple, but yeah, incredibly dangerous goal. They have to convince the most powerful vampire in the city to actually do something about it.
And here's what's so cool about this whole thing. There was literally no script, no predetermined plot. The story doesn't even exist until the players make a choice. The players, they're the engine. The story only moves forward when they decide to act.
So, let's take a look at a classic problem every story has to solve. The group needs to learn more about this threat, this Asura, before they can even think about going to the prince. Now in a movie, the writer decides how they get that info. But here, it's all up to the players. So what's the plan?
And this is where it gets really fun. They're all facing the same problem, right? But they don't tackle it the same way. The group actually splits up, and each one plays to their character's strengths. You've got the scholar, Joshua, who immediately hits the books in his private library. Then there's the investigator, Undertaker, who goes deep into the city sewers looking for his shadowy contacts. And then you have Matt and Stefan, and they go for something way out there. They sneak into the old abandoned zoo to talk to some kind of supernatural creature. I mean, right there you have three totally different choices, which create three completely separate, spontaneous scenes.
And for Joshua the scholar, it pays off, big time. He digs into his books and bam, he finds his critical piece of the puzzle. He connects this new threat to a name from ancient Egyptian myth, Apep, a creature known as a devourer of the sun. And just like that, with one name, the entire conflict just got a whole new terrifying dimension.
But see, that's the thing. Not every path leads to a win. Our investigator, Undertaker, he spends the whole night in the sewers looking for his informants and gets nothing. Zilch. They're gone. And that's so important. That's not a narrative failure. That is the story. The dead ends, the frustrations, that's what builds tension and makes the successes feel earned.
But a good story isn't just about finding clues and fighting monsters. A lot of the time, the real drama, the stuff that gets you hooked, comes from the characters themselves clashing with each other.
So check this out. The drama really ignites when an ally, a woman named Raven who's supposed to be watching their backs, just walks in and drops a bombshell. She tells them, "I'm done," and boom. Just like that, the whole dynamic of the group is thrown into chaos. Everything is suddenly uncertain.
Oh yeah, the tension just goes through the roof, instantly. They're trying to figure out what's going on, and she just keeps pushing back, harder every time. When one of the characters, a really powerful vampire, tries to pull rank on her, she just shuts him down completely. And you gotta remember, none of this is scripted. This is just a raw emotional conflict playing out live between the performers.
And then it happens. The argument gets so heated that Raven she steps forward and slaps one of the player's characters, Zayn, right across the face. A shocking physical act of pure defiance. This moment, the slap, nobody saw that coming. Not the players, not the story guide, nobody. This right here is the magic of collaborative storytelling.
Okay, so we've got all these different things happening at once, right? The successful research, the failed investigation, and this explosive personal drama. So now let's see how it all starts coming together as we build to the big climax, that meeting with the prince.
You can just feel the tension building here. First, the whole crew gets together. Then, suddenly, another group of powerful vampires rolls up with a full police motorcade. We're talking sirens, flashing lights, the whole deal. This makes it crystal clear this isn't just some casual chat, it's a major political event. And finally, after all the pomp and circumstance, the players' 2 chosen representatives get the summons. Every single step here is designed to ramp up the stakes and make you feel the pressure.
And that brings us to what is, for my money, the most incredible part of this whole thing. Literally, no one in that room knows what's about to happen. Not the players, not even the person running the game. It really is like the story is a living, breathing creature. Okay, just take a look at this. This is the room that the players' representatives, Zayn and Matt, have just stepped into. It's an absolute political powder keg. You've got every major power player in the city right here at this table. The conservatives, the futurists, the artists, and at the head of it all, the prince. Our guys, they're totally outmanned, completely outgunned. All they have is the information they managed to scrape together and, well, whatever they can come up with on the spot.
So everything, all the research, that fight, the dead ends, it's all led to this single moment. The fate of the story is completely, 100% in their hands now. Which, of course, leaves us with the big question. If that was you, sitting at that table, what would you do?